I don't know if we're still in mourning. I don't know what to officially put it. But once again, we get reminded that the Carolina Hurricanes are not still playing hockey.
It's a shame.
Last night, you sit down, you find the time and space, the time and room to watch some hockey, and of course, it's the other teams. Stanley Cup Finals, Game 1 last night. One of the rules I have, it's not a rule, I just like to say it that way, it's more dramatic. One of the things I like to do when your team is eliminated is pay attention to the teams that have done better, the teams that are where you want to be, and see if you can learn something. So what can the Canes learn from watching Stanley Cup Final Game 1? I'm sure everybody out there is saying, we'll find a McDavid and a Draisaitl, and that's a good place to start. So, I mean, yeah, if you can do it, right? That's like saying, how do I run like Usain Bolt? Do it fast. To just do it. It's not that easy, right? That's not what I took away from it. I think last night the Oilers did look like what you're saying, right? I think they did look like the better team. I think McDavid and Draisaitl did live up to the hype, and you'll hear it right here from Greg Wyshynski, who was obviously there covering, talking about the statement the Oilers made.
To win this game, I think, is proof of concept. It's proof of concept that they can play with this team from Florida. It's proof of concept that they can beat this team from Florida, and it feeds right into the confidence that they had already built throughout these playoffs. See, I've been saying this the whole way through. Like, it's kind of amazing how unbothered the Oilers have been in these playoffs. Like, no one's really pushed them. No one's really gotten under their skin. No one's really punched them in the face to see how they react. The Panthers did it a few times tonight. They reacted pretty well, and then to win this game is the ultimate statement that they can handle adversity.
I think Edmonton looked like the better team on the ice, and you felt it early. But guess what? Guess what stuck out to me? It still went to overtime. It's still the Florida Panthers and the system that they play that has so many similarities to the Carolina Hurricanes. The system that they play kept that game close. The grinding nature kept it. They almost stole the win. It wasn't even like a quick overtime goal. That thing, they used all of it. And yes, part of it is Sam Bennett being annoying. Kept the game close. And I mean, I have a 4-year-old son at home, right? When we're play fighting and he pushes me over and I pretend like, oh, that's kind of what Sam Bennett did to avoid the goaltender interference call. Like, I got you. Oh, you pushed me so hard. I am stumbling back, and now I'm on the ground.
Like they said, the old accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, you did push me, so that's on you, but I didn't exactly, all I had to do was step back or move my weight a little bit. I would have been fine. That stuff did matter, and it kept the game close. But that, to me, is kind of the message for the Canes and the message for so many other teams that don't have a McDavid. Right? If you can have your generational player, that's great, right? And then build around them and you operate in your own little sideway. Maybe the better analogy would be having a McDavid is like being 7 feet tall. If your goal is to make it to the NBA and you're 7 feet, all right, you go over here, you're going to do things differently than everybody else. But for everybody that's 6'4" and under, how do you make it to the NBA? Right? And that's where the majority of teams operate. How do you put together a team? How do you put together a system that can go up against the 7-footer and have a chance to win even when you're not having your best day? Tkachuk isn't himself right now. McDavid and Draisaitl, and I'm just using them as kind of the example, right? They're big-time players. I think the Canes need to get better players. Right, and we said that during the Eastern Conference Finals. If you took that roster and you went 1-for-1 down the Florida Panthers path, and you just matched up a Kane to a Panther all the way on down, I think the Panthers had pretty noticeably the more talented roster. I think the Canes need to improve that, but they don't have to have the most talented roster. They have to have the right roster. They don't have to have the most talented players in the world. What they have to have are the players that make the gritty, grimy, greasy plays that their system calls for. And then sprinkle in a little bit more of that talent. And then sprinkle in a little bit, like we talked about yesterday with the big-time goal scorer or whatever it is. But to me, right, watching those two teams, and especially with the kind of the form they're in, to have the Oilers play a really good game and need an overtime classic pass from McDavid to Draisaitl to win against Florida, and it's actually kind of similar to me, right? If you go this game person for person, I think the Oilers are the more talented team. But yet Florida took them to the brink in game one, and everyone's saying it was a statement by the Oilers, and I agree, but I don't look at this series as the defending champion or the Panthers, even though they are. Right? I look at this as they're the brawler, and the Oilers are the finesse is the wrong word, but they're the more flashy speed fighter. And what I took away from that game is, even when the flashy speed thing is working, the brawler stuck with them. I'm not taking away the burden of needing to get better players and bigger superstars, but I am taking away the burden of saying that the only way the Canes are going to get where they need to go is if they have the massive talent advantage at every step. That's not how it is, and that's not because of, we know the similarities in the systems, what the Panthers have shown. Now, right, you treat this from a competitive standpoint. You almost don't treat the Panthers as humans, right? If you're a Canes fan, or if you're a Canes observer, invested media, whatever. Like if you're somebody invested in the way the Canes play, right? You don't want to sit here and act like you're mimicking or idolizing or doing any kind of over-flatterizing, I'm making up words, of the Panthers, but you have to be able to watch and learn, right? The I forget who said it. It's some old ancient cliche, essentially, right? A smart person learns from their own mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. If you're not going to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, if you're going to get eliminated in the Eastern Conference Finals or earlier, you better find a way to learn from those that get there. Because we're seeing how hard it is for the Canes to get past a level, right? They've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 out of the last 7 years. They've been sent home, all 3, right? It's hard to break through that glass ceiling. Once they break through that glass ceiling and make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, which is what's going on now with Florida and Edmonton, you don't want to get there and then have to get there 3 out of the next 7 years to learn how to overcome that obstacle. Hopefully you've been making plans if and when you get there. That's what I'm looking for. And there's a good chance with the way these teams are created and the way they're situated, although they do have some contract decisions coming up, Sam Bennett amongst them, that these two teams will be there near the end. You're going to have to get through them specifically in the next couple years if you want to win. By the way, just because we did have the conversation yesterday on some of the players that might be available, I mean, I think it was around goal number 2 that everybody just started taking Sam Bennett and sliding him up to the top of their wish list. I want I want what everybody thinks Sam Bennett is to join the Canes. I'm not sure he will actually, and especially now that I'm sure the price is going up with that glow of being a postseason performer. I might be moving him down my list a little bit.
Right. Well, I mean, there was a lot of the conjecture going around. I want to say it was a couple weeks ago. It was like talking about multiple teams potentially willing to give him $10 million a year. And it's like
really hard time getting there.
I mean, maybe that value's there in the playoffs, but like, what do you value more, right? Like a guy who I don't believe has ever really broken 50 points, maybe once in the regular season, but he's also leading the playoffs in goals, and he just had 2 last night, and now he's an impact player, and he brings that edge that so many people have said specifically that the Canes are missing. Now, is that worth $10 million a year with the cap going up? I don't know.
I'm going to reference, I believe somewhere else in the show, I'm going to reference this exact same theory. Have I ever told you what my Matt Stafford effect is?
I don't think so.
Okay, I name my theories. It's a nerdy thing I do. Matt Stafford effect is when Matt Stafford, and it's not even true anymore because he's in LA and it's Hollywood and he's on like all of primetime games for McVay. But when he was in Detroit, the Lions got one primetime game every year. It was on Thanksgiving. Right, the Detroit was always on Thanksgiving. Other than that, basically 1:00 Sunday games all the time, and nobody watched the Lions 1:00 Sunday because there were 5, 6, 7 other games going on, and there was almost always one that's more interesting elsewhere. But Matt Stafford on Thanksgiving, we'd all watch, And if he played great on Thanksgiving, that offseason, we'd all be going, it's a shame what Detroit is doing to Matt Stafford. He's so good, and they just can't put a winner around him if he threw for like 3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving. If he had a bad game on Thanksgiving, we'd be going, I don't know why everybody likes Matt Stafford. I guess he puts up some stats, but he didn't look that good to me. And you'd base his entire season off of the one primetime game he got. I think there's some Sam Bennett stuff happening there where it's like, I watched 5, 6, 7 of his playoff games. He looked pretty good. And we're judging like everything that he is off of those playoff games. Which, yes, if you step up in the playoffs, it's important. But I think you want somebody that can carry that kind of weight and workload the entire season. And there are other guys on the Panthers that I think do that more often. And then he's had to step up, particularly with Tkachuk looking a little banged up.
Little more statistical context here just to wrap up the Sam Bennett discussion. This year, his first 50-point season, he had 51 points, 25 goals, 26 assists. He has previously had more goals, though. He had 28 goals in 2021-22, finished with 49 points that season. But again, 51 points this year in the regular season, the most in his career. But if you go in the playoffs, I'm looking at 4 postseasons with at least 5 goals. And the last 3, at least 14 points in each of the last 3 years. And obviously this year with the 12 goals so far in the playoffs as well, which is leading the league.
I want what everybody thinks Sam Bennett is. And I'd want it for less than $10 or $11 million. And the price is per year. And the price is only going to go up if he has, he only needs 1 or 2 more goals the rest of the series in order for that price to be sky high.